Hey guys, I got Adrian Domingo from way down under. It is in America, it's like 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What time is it in Australia right now?
10:30 a.m., but it's Friday. So you're Thursday night, is that right?
Yeah, it's Thursday night here, and you're like a day ahead of us.
Yeah, yeah, you're going into the future, man. It's
We're like
like
in, yeah, it's into the
10:30 in the
future.
morning here.
So
That's
Adrian,
awesome.
Adrian is the founder of Social Media Breakthrough, and has a class in an academy actually, Your Mind with the Empower Your Mind with the Academy, with helping business owners basically break through and utilize social media in their businesses so they can explode and create more leverage, time and more time with their family with more income. And I butchered that severely because I'm trying to read something so go figure.
That's tough.
But the bottom line is, it was about a week ago that we connected, almost a week ago. It was a week ago in Australia time anyway, because you're ahead. It was Friday, and I remember looking across the room, and I see this guy, and I'm like, I'm gonna know that guy, you know? And I'm like, that's a guy I'm gonna know. I don't know why, but I was like, you just kind of see people sometimes in life, and one of the things I just want to throw out there is you want to always make sure you follow your intuition. That's kept me out of a lot of trouble. So at times I don't listen to my intuition, like, should I be doing this? Well, if you're asking yourself that, you probably shouldn't be doing it in the first place. So just make sure you follow your intuition. You and I got the chance to know each other, I think later on that night or day. And then next day we hung out a bunch, took in the sunset there, I think on Friday night, which was pretty amazing out there in Torrey Pines, wasn't it?
It was beautiful. Absolutely amazing place.
Hey, man. So tell us a little bit about you. How did you get started being an entrepreneur?
Okay, so I think, in terms of my entrepreneurial days, it probably starts, way back. And when I was about maybe 17 or 18, I was in the fitness industry. I was working for myself as a personal trainer. And I kind of been, in and out of jobs like that in the fitness industry and things like that. Where that sort of led me to was sort of personal development. I think when you're in that sort of health space, it led me to that personal development. I started reading books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, started doing personal power with Tony Robbins. And that kind of led me to, future goals. And I had this thing about being a traditional business owner. I loved the idea of maybe becoming a property developer or doing something to do with real estate, which is my sort of gravitation towards real estate. And it kind of just took off from there. I ended up working in that industry and then buying a business and then owning a business for 10 years. And then 2 years ago, almost to the day, 2 years ago, selling out of that business and starting this coaching business,
Mm-hmm. And when you first started your business when you were 17, is that the first thing you remember around money where you're going out and doing something? Like, what's the original thing? Like, where did that entrepreneur spirit come from for you?
I definitely come from my parents. My parents have always worked for themselves. So as long as I can ever remember them, I do have distant memories of mum being at home and dad going to work and getting a job. But dad was always good with his hands and being on the tools and things like that. So they started working for themselves, I guess, when I was probably maybe 8 or 9 years of age. So I've just always been around people of influence, like my parents, that have been in business and working for themselves and calling their own shots. That's all I knew. So getting into business for me was just second nature, I think.
That's really important to understand. Is a lot of times we learn from our parents, the good and the bad. And you learned how your parents made income, and now here it is, you're bringing in the income. I imagine probably similar to the way that they were bringing it in at one point in time. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, definitely. I think, nowadays, obviously, there's a whole new world with this internet marketing. It's kind of, expanded how we can do business. Whereas, my mum and dad were in a traditional, like a handyman service, So that's what my dad did. And actually, my mum helped him a lot. So, they were always sort of working together for probably 10 or 15 years in that one business and doing extensions and building homes and things like that. But yeah, I guess, I'm working for myself. I don't have anyone that I, answer to. And, I don't have a traditional bricks and mortar business. It's kind of me now. It's just me and my laptop and my phone and the internet connection. I'm ready to rock and roll.
Mm-hmm. So a question come in from Reed here about, what did you think about Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
I loved Rich Dad Poor Dad because it sort of expanded my mind into getting out of the rat race. So I love the analogy of being in the rat race. It made me aware of things earlier on in my life that I knew that maybe that would be a roadblock in the future. Because it was told in that sort of story fashion, for me, I think it was just easy to understand. I must say though, I didn't. It's funny how you read all those things when you're young, and I was about probably 19 when I read that book.
Okay.
But I still made the sort of common mistakes because it's very easy to fall back into that trap of what society does, you know. So there are still quite a few things that I did wrong that I'm realizing now that I need to correct the path and do the right thing. So I feel like I'm 20 years later, I'm finally getting it.
But you did something that most people don't do, and that's take action.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's one of the biggest things out there as entrepreneurs is people are so scared of failure that they just don't do anything.
Yeah.
Or they'll criticize somebody else for going out there and being the man in the arena. They're very quick to do that. So how have you, developed that mental mindset of now you move forward, you got into real estate and you got kicked in the balls like a lot of us Americans did in the late 2000s, I'm assuming, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So when I got into real estate, I was 23, and that was off the back of reading all the Rich Dad books. So it was kind of like, yeah, man, I'm going to be a developer. I'm going to build, huge buildings. And the first thing, because Rich Dad says, get a job for what you can learn, not for what you can earn. And so I thought, well, that's fine. I'll go into real estate. I'll learn how to buy and sell property and how the whole industry works. And then I'll become a developer. What actually happened was that I found this industry that really suited me and my personality, because I kind of floated in between jobs and working for myself and being a personal trainer. And because I was in the gym, I used to smash the weights and, eat tons of protein all day.
Nah,
and
you still smash the weights, dude. You look like Marky Mark that showed up at the company.
Funny. I say to people, I can't do much about the head. The body's all I got to work on. So, at the end of the day, I used to do all of those things, and I used to actually do security work. So that's kind of like the natural progression. When you go to the gym, you become a bodybuilder, you get large, you just gravitate towards being a doorman or someone in the security. So I'd come from an environment which was very sort of, it was full of anger and full of frustration, and people, it wasn't a very good environment. So to get into real estate, I loved it because I was dealing with people. I got to sort of drive people around in my car and show them homes and understand them. So, and that kind of people skills is something that I've always had from birth, really, to be honest. So I found that industry and I loved it. And within 18 months, I bought the business that I was working for. So I really kind of thought to myself, well, this is my trajectory. I'm going to own this business. And the next 5 years, I'm going to be retired. I was 27 when I bought the business. And I thought, well, by 32, 35 max, I'm going to be financially free. So needless to say, it never went that way. I kind of like...
Does it ever go as planned?
Never. I don't think so. I think there's all these kind of twists and turns and ups and downs, and it's your job to keep going.
We say once the initial round goes down range, the opposite direction, that the plan pretty much goes out the window.
Yeah, that's 100%. And the thing is, like, life inevitably is going to throw you curveballs, and it's your idea, it's your responsibility to kind of react in a way that's going to, I guess, pull you out of it. So some people capitulate and retreat and go backwards, and other people go, well, I'm going to roll with the punches. I'm going to dig in and fucking knuckle down. And I think that, like, there's a couple of questions you've asked. So I got kicked in the nuts severely in it was around 2012. I built up the business quite nicely. I had good cash at the bank. I expanded the staff. So I kind of went from, a 2-person operation to a 7-person operation. And it took me off the tools and off the things that I was really, really good at. And needless to say, I just went from having all this cash in the bank and all this success to being basically 4 weeks from closing the doors.
So why did you decide to put out all that cash and make the moves you did then? So if somebody who's listening to this, what's the golden nugget lesson that you're sharing with us right here so we can hear that?
Well, for me, it was, I read all the business books, and the whole idea around duplicating yourself many times over was so I could become a real business owner, not someone who owns a job, as in I bought myself a job in a business. I could become a real business owner who was managing a business and had other people work for me and produce income. The reality for me is that it never went that way. It actually just cost me more and more and more money. And, the further down the hole that I got into, I had to go and work harder and harder and harder. So I just quickly realized that for me, that wasn't the type of business that I was really equipped to do at that time. I was really good at the sales. I was really good at dealing with people. But as a manager, as someone who was managing the business, I took the talent out of the business and injected it with people that weren't really going to rise to the occasion. So there's a whole bunch of lessons there for me. But for anyone listening, I would say that you need to really know your strengths. And in business, when you're small, you're kind of safe. When you get into a medium-sized business, you tend to be very stretched and running on a red line. So if you don't have a lot of capital behind you and you don't have a lot of systems and a plan in place that allows you to go to the next level, you kind of got to get out of that middle ground and go large as quickly as you possibly can. And that was somewhere where I got severely hurt in the middle. So,
what I just had to got hurt.
Man, I just lost a ton of cash. I was literally like, and I mean it, my business was costing 35 grand a month to run, and I had 40 grand in the bank. So
and that was all the employees yet?
That was the employees. So, my wages went up, my taxes went up, my advertising went up, and all of these things increased. However, the sales didn't increase. The talent that I hired is probably a difference. What I've heard in recent times is they weren't talent, they were staff. They were just people that were doing the jobs and ticking boxes, but they weren't necessarily, talent, which was enabling me to grow the business the way I wanted to. So it all kind of had to go. You know what I mean, Daryl? Like I had to make some really tough decisions. Firstly, the decision within myself, because I was like having heart palpitations, anxiety attacks. I was about to lose everything. And for me personally, I felt like a failure because this was a business that I built virtually from the ground up. I'm married. I've got 3 kids. So I was like, I don't want to face the music and tell these boys that daddy fucked everything up. And now we've got to sell the house and all those sorts of things. So, for me, it was a very soul searching moment. So I had those critical conversations with me, and then I had to have them with my staff. And it kind of went like, this is the situation. And if you're here, you've got to make sales. And if you don't, well, then there's no longer a future for you. Within a few weeks, they all sort of left, found greener pastures, and I had to make some dramatic changes within the business to save my ass.
It's awesome, man. When you're looking down the barrel of that gun at that point, what was going through your mind?
For the most part, it was real embarrassment that I would have to say to people that I had this business and then I lost it all, because I think we all like to show our highlights reel. We all like to, say to people, I own a business.
Like the Facebook lifestyle?
Yeah.
Everything's great.
Yeah, everything's great. And see, to me, also being an optimist, I always see the glasses half full. Yeah. If you ask me, how your day's going on the inside, if I'm crumbling on the outside, I can maintain a very resilient sort of, face and outlook. So to me, that's a strength of mine, but it's also a weakness because I'm not really being real to who I am and out to the world. So for me, going through my mind was that I just blown it all apart. And like I said, as a provider, as a father, as a husband, that hit me in the guts really bad, because I don't know, man, I just got this thing that, I know it's not the way it should be or the way it is for everyone, but for me, I'm the man, I'm the provider. I come from a European background, and like that's kind of what my internal values were. And I felt like I was really letting my family down, which disappointed me the most.
Yeah. Why is that your worst fear, with disappointing your family the most?
Whew, that's a really good question. Just letting them down. You know, like I said, I felt like I was responsible for, you know, for their well-being. So I've got, you know, 4 mouths to feed, and this was all off the back of my decision. So yeah, there's a few things that happen within relationships and within business, particularly when, for example, you have the goals and the mindset and the belief that you want to go out and do something for yourself. However, if you've got a partner who if like wants to see the best come out of you and wants you to follow your dreams, then there's going to be some sacrifice along the way. So for me, there was a sacrifice in a sense that my wife stopped work. She raised the family and raised the boys while I went off and chased my dreams. So I felt like that I'd kind of done everything that I wanted, and then I balls it all up. And so, yeah, it was just 7 years of wasted time. So I think that's really, when I think about it, why I was feeling so gutted that I'd come to this point. But then, like you said, you know, you're staring down the barrel, and I had to do something, and I just wasn't going to give up. I didn't want to lose everything that I had, and I kind of just searched for solutions. And I started with very, very simple things that would just trim the fat out of the business and allow me to have a sustainable business, to pull myself out of the ship. And the one thing that I did was turn to social media as a free medium to advertise myself and to rebrand as an identity in the marketplace, because it was so low cost and in fact free in most cases. And all I had to do was produce some content that people liked. And that, like, unbeknownst to me, was the catalyst to what I do now.
Mm-hmm. And have you ever given up though? I don't take you as a guy that gives up.
You know what? There have been times where, you know, I've definitely given up, but it hasn't been for long.
Name a time you gave up on something.
So back in the real estate days, there was I started doing real estate, and as soon as I hit the ground running, I kind of like exploded in the industry. I was doing really good numbers straight away, and then after about 10 months, I hit a wall and I stopped selling property. Things weren't working out for me, and my boss at the time was an absolute prick and basically just said, you know, you're only as good as your last sale, and tried to manage me out of the business. For me, it was just a huge bruising, because I kind of just went through this massive trajectory of selling a lot of property and feeling like this was going to be, you know, lightning fast trajectory into success. And then it just all come to a stop. I had a really bad taste in my mouth after dealing with someone like that. And then it felt like the more people that I went and got another job with another real estate agency, and that boss was also the biggest arsehole in the world. And so it kind of like was like bang, bang, another hit. And then I kind of said, well, fuck, you know, this industry is not for me, and maybe I'm just not that good at it. And I went back to fitness.
Do you know how the tides work in the ocean?
Oh, I have a funny idea about how it works. Yeah.
Okay.
You want to explain it to me?
You know, you got boats in like the ocean, right? And like a harbor, yeah. You know, when the tide comes in, all the boats go up, right?
Correct.
And what happens where the tide goes out?
Boats go down.
All the boats go down. Does it matter if it's a yacht or if a rowboat?
100%.
Yeah. So could it be just a time in the market that you're doing what you're doing and the tide was just going down? No matter what you could do, you can't bring the water back until the tide comes back.
Look, I think that's a fantastic analogy. It probably could have been the case, but I could also say that maybe there's the tide analogy goes in with your own personal development, your own mindset ability. You know, so perhaps I just wasn't ready to face those challenges. And I think the world has a funny way of throwing challenges your way and telling you need to level up. So maybe if I think philosophically about it, it was a way that was showing me that I was living in a false economy, and that it was kind of like a test. So listen, man, we're going to test you. We're going to knock you down a few times. We're going to see exactly how you pull yourself out of this and give you the strength and the intestinal fortitude that you need to keep going. So, you know, there's a lot of times that those things have happened, not only in business, but in life, you know, with family and friends that have died and committed suicide, or, you know, losing, like, you know, we lost a child, in between my first and second baby, we lost a little girl. Like there's things like that which really knock the wind out of your sails. And the way I see it now is I see it as the world of showing me that I need to level up in my ability, my mindset, my appreciation, my gratitude. It's kind of like really floors me, and then I come out of it as bigger and better and stronger than ever before. So that's really like a very, very consistent message through my whole life.
It's awesome, man. Congratulations for taking the lessons and turning them into blessings. Because some people, they just, I look at it this way: people come to me with excuses, right? But they want success. I'm like, you can't have both, right?
Yeah.
You've
I totally agree.
You've taken everything, you've learned it from, you taking it and put it in success. And now how are you using that, bringing yourself forward now with how you've taken these lessons and now you're sharing those lessons with the world and what you're doing?
The way I share it with is like, remember what I said before about me not being real? I had that sort of Facebook lifestyle going on. And so when I made the decision to get out of the business and the real estate business, it was an easy decision for me to get into coaching because I knew that the things that I had learned in the last 10 years of doing business would benefit so many more people in helping them achieving their dreams and aspirations. So I pretty much molded all of my life lessons into stories, into videos and blogs. And, I made a pact with myself that I would not bullshit myself or anyone anymore. So one of the things I kind of pride myself on is telling people the truth about how my life is. So I show the highlights reel, don't get me wrong, but I also show in terms of story and in video about how things go wrong for me and that I'm just like you. So, I think we all have this we kind of compare ourselves to others a lot. So we see all this dramatic success and this huge, abundance in the world. And we ask ourselves, well, why don't I have that? And we think that, you're up here and I'm down here, but really we're not. We're the same. Like we've got, skin and bones and flesh and, eyes, ears and nose. Like we're humans. So we are the same. We're actually on the level. So what really is the difference between you and me? And I have I've cultivated an ability to make myself very much relatable to my audience. And to me, that's kind of like a magnet because I just tell it how it is. That's how I am. My training right now, where we are in Australia, I've got a mastermind coaching group, which is starting in about an hour's time. And man, like I swear like a trooper, I tell exactly how it is. I don't hold any punches. And because I want to let people know that when opportunity knocks, it's fucking hard work that answers, So you kind of have to dig deep. You're going to be knocked down. Things are going to go wrong. So let's just equip ourselves with the right tools, strategies, systems, mindset, know-how to get out of the bumps when they do inevitably come, So
what would you attribute your success to?
Resilience.
Huge. Great word.
Yeah, I would say that resilience for me is a strength that, like I said before, even though my world could be crumbling and I have developed an ability to just keep moving forward, even if that is only 1 inch or half an inch or, 10 centimeters or a foot or 1 meter, whatever it might be. I just keep going a little bit further and finding evidence to support that I'm actually getting out of the shit. So resilience is a key thing for me, and gratitude. I mean, like I said, I've had dear friends of mine commit suicide from a drug overdose and things like that. And, when stuff like that happens, you really count your cards and you understand exactly how precious life is. You start to realize that we worry about a lot of shit that doesn't happen. We start to really give too much weight to the things that go wrong in our lives rather than things that go right. there's so many things that we do which amplify situations that in the grand scheme of things mean fuck all when it comes to our own health and the fact that we're actually above ground. Like, that's a good fucking day, man. Like, what was it that Frank Kern said the other day? 150,000 people die a day, like, today's a good day. You woke up,
you're alive.
You're alive, man. It's a good fucking day. So let's celebrate for a little bit. Yeah.
My Master Guns used to say in the Marine Corps, he said to him that at least nobody's kicking dirt on me today.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's absolutely amazing.
I appreciate coming out and talking with us. What's the best way for individuals to reach out to you, learn more about what you're doing on the social media side of things, and how you're coaching and the mastermind that you do?
Man, they can just connect with me on Facebook. I think that's just the best way that I share my material, my information, my videos, my blogs, my little quotes of inspiration and things like that. Anything that I'm doing in terms of my mastermind coaching or social media training is all there. So if you guys want to hit me up on Facebook, I'd love to, become friends or come and like my page. They're both me, Adrian D'Amico. So just go and search for me. Or if you want to, I'll pop a link up in the chat there and we'll connect. So yeah, if they want to follow me there, that'd be great. It'd be awesome to touch base with you guys in the US. I had such a wonderful time there. It was just an amazing.
Yeah, your first time to US, to California, first time going on.
Yeah, absolutely. It was amazing. It was so good. I shot a video down in La Jolla there.
I saw that.
I was feeling so juiced and inspired after that day, those 2 days. And again, I agree with what you said before. You kind of gravitate towards people that are like you. And there was definitely some energy in the room there. And we seem to have similar things going on in our lives, with our values and beliefs and family and, things like that. So, yeah, man, it was such a pleasure to meet you guys.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate Adrian. And guys, get a hold of Adrian. Seriously, he's got a great program. He's doing a lot of good down there in Australia, and he works worldwide. So see you on the stages of the world, brother.
Sounds great to me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Take care, Daryl.